One. Let's see.
Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, everyone, everywhere, depending on where and when you are watching. Well, it's a sunny, slightly windy, nice, warm first spring Sunday outside my door. What's it looking like outside your door? Well, this month we've been focusing on marriage, weddings, and all things concerning that area. This week, we're going to be talking about divorce. Now, divorce used to be a taboo word. Our parents and our grandparents, they didn't divorce. They endured hardness like a good soldier. They stayed to the end. But what used to be taboo, somehow in our generation, is no longer a taboo. Well-to-do people, movie stars, the rich and the famous, they go into marriage with the thought of divorce already on their mind because they're doing prenups to make sure that their spouse does not take advantage of what they have already earned. So divorce now is an everyday word when it used to be something that was only talked about in secret. It was only talked about very occasionally, but now divorce is everywhere. And the status of marriage is in jeopardy. Welcome to Africa Online TV. I am your co-host, Prophetess Lisa Parks. And as I said, we're going to be talking about divorce and the effects it has on the families. Now for the editorial of the day with my co-host, Professor Niasan. Hello, good afternoon, Professor. How are you?
Good afternoon, and
Yes.
there will be no editorial because the lights, there was a flicker and the light disappeared, and what I had on my laptop disappeared.
Oh
Keep
no.
searching for it. So for today, we will be talking divorce and the effects it has on families and society in general. It was never like that in my day when I was growing up, but then it is a reality today, but it is not in my vocabulary. But I don't know why the lights flickered just when I needed it most. But all the same, let us get the show going. So, Reverend Palm, are you there to welcome us and then call on us to get started?
Sure. On behalf of Africa Online Media Corporation, I really want to welcome all of you, Nia Song, Ambassador Lisa, Dr. Crosslin, Sister Deborah, all of our viewers, that are watching on YouTube, and those who are going to watch on Facebook later. As I mentioned before, this month we started streaming on YouTube instead of Facebook. So, and we're looking at for student interns, because we need to upload some of those shows that we did on Facebook that have not been uploaded on YouTube. We've created a lot of content in 9 years this March. 3 days ago was made us 9 years on the air. So we are grateful for all the lives that have been impacted. We are grateful for the faithfulness of all of you here. And but we need some students to help us with the social media and the promotion. And this topic, divorce, is something that either everyone knows somebody who's had a divorce or some of them have gone through it. It's not even in societies that divorce used to be a taboo, now divorce is rampant. And unfortunately, the divorce rate in the church is the same as the divorce rate outside the church, and that is not good. So I want to welcome everybody and thank you for your faithfulness. Over to you, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you, thank you, Reverend Pam. All of a sudden, his lights is out, and then my eye is irritated. Now I can't see. So as we said, first week we talked about before I said I do, and the things that young people needed to know, and older people who are seeking to be married, what they need to know before they say I do. Last week we were talking about, or the week prior we were talking about after we say I do. As I said at the beginning of the month, we all are always focused on the wedding, the ceremony, the dresses, the flowers, the bridesmaids, the ring bearers, the reception. We forget that that is only one day. And after that day comes the marriage that should be for a lifetime. You take your vows there, you're standing there and you're taking them for a lifetime, but something happens. What is that something that happens that causes our marriages not to remain till death do us part? divorce slips in, we are less tolerable. And the divorce rate among us African Americans, well, you know what? It's not even about African Americans. The divorce rate in the United States is high. However, it's showing that it is coming down as of 2024, 2023, 2024. Divorce rate is coming down. Marriage is kind of still staying steady, but the divorce rate is coming down. So things are turning around. And yes, Reverend Pam, the divorce rate in the church among Christians and believers is equally as high. Why? Because we're still dealing with the same exact things that cause divorce, whether you're in the church or not. There are over 900,000 divorces in the United States yearly, with there being over 2 million marriages. According to the US Census, I believe this was 2023, that there are 900,000 divorces. Now, in 1996, surprised that we have those statistics, but in 1996, the federal government stopped giving money to the states to gather those statistics. So they stopped feeling compelled to document and make those statistics available. But we do have statistics as far as 2023. So, what are some of the reasons we are divorcing? Why is it that now we're not staying till the death do us part? And I found in my study that women initiate most of the marriage. I don't have a number or a percentage, but it just states that women are initiating the majority of the divorces. We're going to get into this conversation and we're going to talk with our Miss Senior Virginia and our sister Deborah. And Nia Sung, he's really not going to have much to say about this subject because he's been married since the beginning of time, according to Reverend Pan. So he knows what it means to stick to it and stick in there and hang on in there. But let's just get into this conversation and discover why our divorce rate seems to be so high and how it is affecting our families and society in general. Welcome, Sister Deborah.
Sister Deborah, yeah, she's unmuted.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Good to see you back. So
it's good to be back.
Wonderful.
As far as divorce goes, I can't say much because I've never been married. But from what I can see, it's because people don't take time to really communicate. And they think they're getting into one thing and something else appears and then they're ready to just, okay, I'm done. As opposed to sitting down, communicating, talking it out, working it out. There's no patience and no communication.
I agree. Communication is one of the big reasons for divorce. Funding, it's not funding, but finances is another big reason for divorce. There needs to be a lot of time put into counseling, talking about all these very fundamental issues before marriage is taking place. And I'm afraid that in a lot of counseling, now I have some sisters who are doing counseling now and they're bringing these things up. But let's just say when I got married, that was not my pastor's and my counselor's big concern. They were not concerned about whether we talked, whether we knew how to resolve conflict. They were not interested in whether we knew how to agree to disagree, how to come to a mutual understanding about things. These were not the things that were discussed in our counseling sessions. So I'm a divorcee. I won't tell you how many times, but let's just say I'm a divorcee. And I have very low tolerance for foolishness. I was raised very well. I've been in church since day one. I don't live a life, I've not been delivered from drugs and alcohol and street and all those things. So I have a hard time receiving those things because that's not what I bring to the table. So I know, as I've, gathered on in these later years, I've discovered that my tolerance for foolishness is very low. And I don't just divorce just willy-nilly because I have nothing else to do. I have scriptural reason. And, there is scripture that allows for divorce. There are two reasons that you can have a divorce scripturally, and there are three things that will allow you to have an annulment legally. Dr. Gloria, I saw you there. You may be driving. There you are. Hello, beautiful.
Hi, beautiful. Hi,
Good to
everybody.
see you.
Great to
Good to see you guys.
That's Miss Virginia. Where Virginia is for lovers, like she always says.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
Virginia is for lovers. And thank you so much, Her Excellency, Your Highness, and to Miss Deborah, to Professor Nia-san, and especially to you, Prophetess Lisa, and to everyone that's watching today. I am not an expert by any means on any topic. Um, all I can do is just share my experience, which is going to be different from everybody's experience because it's my own
Because it's
experience.
exactly. But
And
somebody out there somewhere will be able to grab hold of what you're saying. That's why we're all so different.
yes, and everyone is an expert on their own experiences, on
Yes.
their own lives, and they know all the ins and outs of what has happened and transpired in their lives. So I have a girlfriend, and I don't want to shout her out because she wasn't able to join today. But for some people, like you were saying, Prophetess Lisa, they get divorced because it's like a designer symbol. A lot of,
Hmm.
I
yeah.
like that. Never heard that before.
I never did it. I never even thought of it as a designer.
Well,
You know.
I can't speak for Will Smith and Jada Smith, for example, or any of the very wealthy people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, for a while there, all the famous people were getting a divorce, but they were on the news. So I don't know if it were if it were true or not, or if it was for publicity. But so I guess money doesn't make people stay married. I don't know. But there was a time when everybody thought basically that it had to do with finances. And the statistics and the experts said a lot of it was because of finances, the man having his finances over here. And even Oprah, I think, did a couple of sessions on that. And there are some people that are not married and live with people and still separate, like you were saying, Prophetess Lisa, because to them they are married. Um, so yeah, it's like everyone does agree that communication is important. Um, and respect and love. And it all begins from inside oneself so that a person can share and like what you were saying, Prophetess Lisa, and I want to speak to that, how you don't do no foolery. Right. Um, and I agree. No one should put up with no kind of foolery. But can you expound on that a little bit more? Like,
Sure.
for example, when I was a little girl growing up in the Baptist church, I one of my neighbors was a pastor, and his wife, he was up there preaching in church, and she was sitting in the church pew, and one of the other ladies just came up and snatched her wig off. And in church. And I'm thinking, I was a little girl, but I knew what divorce was. But
Oh
I,
my
I, I
God.
had I had never seen it. Just like you guys are saying, back in those days, we didn't see divorce.
Yes.
Um, but they stayed married and everything. And me being a little girl and knowing everything that was going on, I did not know how to process that, and I
Right.
still don't. We're too young to know how to process a lot of things we saw when we were younger. Well, but anyways, go ahead, Prophetess Lisa, expound a little bit more. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. So I said I don't tolerate foolishness. I am not patting my own self on the back, but I did not live a very worldly life. Like I said, I've been a Christian all my life. I was born in church. So infidelity is something I can't tolerate.
Me too.
I can't. Some people have the ability to forgive and move on, or they say they forgive, but yet they bring it up to that man or that woman every time something happens, and that's not a life. We can't stay married. We can't stay happy if every time something happens or the man walks out the door and he don't come home for dinner like he said he is at 6:30, you're thinking he's having an affair again. That's not life. God said he wants us to have life and have it abundant. So that's not abundant life. So, when I married my husband, I thought for life. He came to the marriage with children. I had children. We became a family. We've never used the term stepchildren, stepmother. I was just with my oldest stepson. I only use that term just for clarity's sake. Because when I say you got a
Uh-huh.
son named Ryan, be like, I thought you had 3 sons. Yes, I do, but these are my husband's children. So we came together and we did talk. We made it very clear that we didn't want any more kids. I had 3, he had 3. Now I have his 3 and his 3 baby mamas, which we
Wow.
all got along. We did. We got along very well.
That's a miracle.
It was a miracle. We lived fine. We lived when his youngest son's mother went in the hospital, I went and got the baby. I told her I would keep him until she recovered.
Oh,
We had no
wow.
arguments between any of us. Even
Hmm.
with my first husband and his wives that came after me. We have no arguments.
Hmm.
We have children that we're trying to raise, and we want to raise them healthy, even if the adults can't get along and stay married. There's no reason to bring the children in this situation and make their lives miserable. So we all got along. But when my second husband came home and this girl started calling my house, and then she called me, told me she was pregnant, I was like, well, he got to go now. I can't. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
live this kind of life, and I can't receive this kind of
Mm-hmm.
life. And there was no prayer, there was no counseling, there was no nothing that was going to make this okay,
That's right.
that I was going to be able to get over that.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, I accepted him with his 3 kids and his 3 baby mamas, made it very clear I couldn't have any more kids. We agreed we didn't want any more kids, but here you come with a baby. So
Mm-mm.
divorce, that would look, we had to be, it was over and done. Now granted, we're still friends. Matter of fact, he considers me his best friend. We still talk every once in a while. If he gets in trouble, he know he can pick up that phone and call me, and I'm gonna be
Okay.
right there. But we just could not continue as a married couple.
Purple. What
So
you're saying, Ambassador Lisa, is so important because sometimes women don't value themselves. They tolerate, especially African women in the continent,
especially African women.
they tolerate a lot of garbage, a lot of rubbish. I can deal with a broke man. I don't want a broke man. I'm saying I can deal with
But we
that.
can deal with it, right?
To me, adultery or cheating is zero tolerance. I don't
Zero,
care
zero.
who you are. I don't care how much money you have in the bank account. I don't care. Because first of all, you don't know, you have, because with me, you will never have to worry about infidelity.
Exactly.
There's no 2 ways about it. I can share anything, and man is something I cannot share. I don't think anybody should. There are people, all the men do it. It doesn't make it right. If everybody does it, it doesn't make
That's
it right.
right. It doesn't.
It does not. Whatever you're looking that woman out there, package the woman that you have to look like that. The anatomy is the same. So
Reverend
package.
Pam, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Let's
go
finish
ahead.
this
Go
up.
ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Amber.
what I find, especially in Africa, now in Africa, the African women, divorce rate is coming up and it's becoming high in Africa now because women now have rights. They're now understanding the multiple protocol.
They
They
know
no
their
longer,
value. They're beginning
they
to know their
understand they don't
value.
have to stay there and be beat by this man,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, and there are 40 divorces now as of 2019 per 100,000 among African, and it's the women between African couples. And it is the women who are moving towards and initiating these divorces because they've been beat. Nigeria, I've been 5 countries and I live in those 5 countries, but Nigeria, I have to say, tops the list at infidelity. because those mother-in-laws, I tell you, I have to deal with them every time I'm there. Those mother-in-laws, if that daughter-in-law does not come home from her honeymoon pregnant, if she
Yep.
doesn't come home in the next 2, 3 months pregnant
Mm-hmm.
after a wedding, she
Mm-hmm.
has gone and found another woman for her husband and brings another woman home for the man because she's trying to get this status symbol of something for these grandkids.
Yeah,
But what
yeah.
they are discovering, as we just deal with health and proper eating and those things, we're discovering that it is not the woman who cannot have the baby, it's the men
Mm-hmm.
who are not
Well,
being able to
you're even
produce
talking
healthy
about
cells. Huh?
babies, Ambassador Lisa. Let me jump in here. There are women that give birth to female children, and the in-laws still go and bring another woman because they're looking for a male child. What they fail to understand is that the Y chromosomes comes from the man, excuse me, not the woman. If
Mm-hmm.
the man donates X chromosome, the woman has X chromosomes. To have a female is XX, to have a male is XY. If the woman doesn't give birth to a male child, it's the man's fault, not the woman's fault. Besides, it's God that decides. So who says that male children are better than female? There
I
are
don't know.
females that get married, and if you're worried about your name, your daughter can still get married and keep your name. So all those things need to end because
Yes.
women have really been traumatized. They have really been, just bastardized because of all this nonsense stuff, ignorance, tradition. I mean, I don't understand. A woman gives a birth to a female child, you harass her because she didn't give birth to a male child.
As if as
A-
if we as if we have that power and that authority to decide
exactly.
what sex of the baby is going to be. So, in retrospect, not in retrospect, but in agreement with what you're saying, Reverend Pam, we had a woman on our health classes Wednesday, and she was asking our naturopath for what vitamins and things she could take. She wanted to go the natural way. And he said, I need you to come in for assessment, and I need your husband to come in as well, because you both need to be treated. You both need to be taking the same type of herbs, eating and preparing so that he can produce healthy semen. So in retrospect, what you're saying is if the man is not producing, you know, everybody says that God doesn't make a mistake, and he doesn't. But
Yeah.
it's us who are not eating properly. We're not getting the proper nutrition. We're not eating drinking the right amount of water. So if we're not eating and nourishing our bodies properly, then we cannot produce healthy cells, healthy eggs, or healthy sperm. And as I was saying, they finding that it is the men who are responsible for not being able to produce that male child or that child, period. So, and like I said, and women are just not tolerating a man just beating them, going out and having girlfriends when they want, on the side, girlfriends showing up at the weddings. Um, Guys, I'm finding that the men in Africa, and like I said, I've been in Africa over close to 25 years now. Um, the men in Africa want certain things, or they were accustomed to certain type of women's behaviors before
Mm-hmm.
they got married. So now they
Mm-hmm.
marry, they find this girl they're willing to bring home to their mother and introduce, and she's the wife. But the things that they were getting sexually from the mistress or the girlfriends is not what they asking for from the girlfriends or the wives. Now, the scripture says that the marriage bed is undefiled. So, whatever we decide to do in our marriage bed is okay. But they're finding that they can't ask their wives to do certain things. So, they still think it's okay to go out to be with the girlfriend or the prostitute or whoever where they were. And they take and run the risk of bringing these diseases home to their wives. And the
But you
women
see,
are just not.
it's not, Ambassador, it's not just the diseases, it's just the emotional trauma. Because even men that don't even sleep with women outside, some of them have so-called best friends that they talk to more than they talk to their wives. They
Mhm.
confide in more than they confide to their wives. That is still cheating, and there's a lot of things that cause divorce, even though most of the time it's financial issues and adultery, fidelity issues, but there are other issues because these psychological abuses and emotional abuses, they are worse than physical abuses.
Yes, I
Our
agree.
song has been so quiet. I see him about to take off, so let's hear from him and then we'll go to Sister Deborah.
Divorce is an unfortunate happening, but then what do you do when there is abuse? You think that the woman is your punching bag. You come back from work or from wherever, maybe drunk, and you start punching on the woman. That is not tolerable. We cannot accept that. There is, of course, infidelity. Then there is lack of communication. When you don't communicate with your partner, what do you expect? To talk to the TV every evening, sit there and converse with the TV? It doesn't go that way. Mm-hmm. The communication has to be both ways. The man and the woman have to sit down and discuss. And of course, some marriages break up because people fail to understand that the person they got married to is the same person they met the first day. They think that, no, she has changed, he has changed, he's a bulging stomach, or I don't know. the boobs are all gone, they're all flat, and no, this is not what I got. No, you have to accept what you asked for from day one. And that being said, we should also remember that divorce does not just happen. It takes time. Mm-hmm. And the man has to work on it. The woman has to work on it. Everybody. And then telling people outside your marriage about what is going on in your home. That is the most damaging of things, because they don't take it and keep it to themselves. They take it and the next. They keep telling it around, and it becomes a problem. It becomes a scandal for you, and you no longer can show your face anywhere. They say, oh, look at that person. He's divorced, he's that and that and that. Where I worked, I came across 3 women who were divorced by their husbands at 3 different times. One confided so much in me. We became very good friends. Up to today, she texts me to tell me, you made my life better after I got divorced. We had nothing to do in common. We just were colleagues at work. And she's so happy that when she got divorced, I was always telling her, tomorrow will be better than yesterday. So please keep your confidence. It's better to have your life than to have lost it in that marriage. The other one was because of race. He was white, she was African, and they got married because they met in the university, and then of course they had children. Of course. I mean, many of those marriages always end with children. But he soon realized that his other person was better than the one he got married to. So the best thing to do was get rid of her and give her the children and go with your other person. That is not what should be done. Marriage is meant for good or for bad until death do us part. So please, understanding is the most important thing that I see in a marriage. Understand each other, tolerate each other, be ready to say, well, I got you because I loved you at that time. I still love you today. So that is for now what I would say. Let us get
so let me just say something real quick.
Yes.
To add, piggyback to what you said about telling people your problems.
Yes.
By the time you take out your business to your so-called best friend, know that your best friend has another best friend. That's why I don't do best friends. I don't have any best friends. Never had. Jesus is my only best friend. And you tell somebody, don't say anything. They will turn around and tell somebody and tell that person not to say anything. And that person will tell somebody else and say, don't say anything. And the chain goes on. And at each level, at each junction or synapse, that person is adding either salt or pepper or sugar to the story. So by the time it gets back to your partner, it is not even close to what you said in the beginning. That's what people need to keep in mind. Not everybody celebrates your happiness. Not everybody.
No, not everybody.
And the devil will use people, even people that you trusted, people that you have helped, even family members, to destroy you or to betray you. We need to keep that in mind, because a lot of spouses make mistakes. They take their business out there. Why are you telling your best friends about your husband's shortcomings? Or why are your husband telling your best friends about your wife's shortcomings? As Niasan said, it was the same person you married. One of the preachers in San Antonio said, take pictures, lots of pictures when you first get married, because things are going to change. You know, if you don't like the way your partner looks, walk with that person. After all, they used to be a V-shaped with 6 packs, or they used to be figure 8 with no excess baggage. So it means that they are capable of going back. Maybe you are the reason why the woman even gained weight in the first place, because of the way you're treating her. Or maybe you are the reason why the man has a pot belly because you pushed him to alcoholism. So you need to work on this thing. A lot of people say for better or for worse, but they mean for better or for best. That's the truth. There was this lady, and yes, I know you say divorce doesn't happen overnight. These days, they are beginning to happen overnight. Even though things build up, there are people who are just impatient these days. They don't want to even wait. The slightest manifestation of some problem, they're out. They're not that patient. It was the older generation that will hang on into it and to stay. Okay, like somebody say, there are a lot of people that are divorcing after 20, 30 years. What happened with children?
Right.
Children. It did not start today. In those cases, there have been symptoms, there have been alerts, there have been red flags, but sometimes they stay because of the children. And once the children are out, they become empty nesters. They can't stand each other, just the two of them.
Yeah, Your Highness, if I may interject here,
yeah.
Some people get married, they're too young. They don't understand what the show is all about. And when they get older, they think that, oh, I made a mistake in the first place. Other people think that getting married is buying a can of soda at the street corner, drinking it out and throwing away the can. That is not what marriage should be. So those are the two things I wanted to mention.
No, okay, you guys go ahead. I'll mute for a second.
Yes, that's true. So you're saying that it's not good to tell you other outside people your issues. So everybody needs to have a confidant, and this is where the problem lies. You don't have a confidant who is going to take your situation to the throne. Maybe your confidant needs to be an intercessor who knows how to pray. I just had a situation with one of my classmates. We just met a couple of weeks ago. We were all at a funeral, and he was sharing with me. He was about to divorce his wife, and he was telling me some of the things that were going on. And I was very clear. I was like, you have to realize that you as a man, God called you to be the guard, governor, and guide, guard, and govern your home. You were supposed to be the protector. Now, your wife had some issues when you married her. She had some childhood traumas. I said, and you constantly yelling about the issue, the same things. All you're doing is reminding her of what it is her father used to do, which makes her not be able to perform the way you think she should. I said, quite frankly, I've known you since high school. I've actually known you since junior high. You've had enough sex to last you a lifetime. So if you ain't getting none right now, you okay. But you need to step out of angry, mad husband and step over into the intercessor's role. He was like, well, what does that mean? I said, the intercessor cares about that person's soul. And they will go to God and they will cry out to God and they will pray until something happens. As long as you stay in the husband mode, you're just going to see things from your perspective. What she's not doing, what she's not giving you. Step over the intercessor and see that as a prayer assignment. So he was very happy for the advice. Not only did I give him that advice, I went home and I ordered him some books. The Power of a Praying Husband. So he can now begin to pray the word over over his wife and over his marriage. And I said, and stop asking God to change her. Ask God to change you, because you can't do that. And God's not going to do a miraculous thing in her life. And he doesn't fix you as well, because there's an issue with you too. So he received what I had to share. And he told me, he said he did tell her that he had talked to me. She's a classmate of ours. She graduated with us. I did not know her until, later on in life. But he did go home and let her know that he had talked to me. And this was my advice to him, that she encouraged me to pray for you and to pray differently and to pray for God to change my heart. So I believe things are working out well. So when we are sharing our business or our issues with our sisters or our brothers or our prayer partners, we have to be mindful that because they're your best friend, or because they are your intercessor, or they're your prayer partner, you can't tell everything to everybody. So you need to make sure that who you're sharing with has the ability to cover as well. Not uncover like Noah's sons did when they went in the tent and found him naked, that one son, and came out and told everybody that he saw his father's naked. The two older brothers put a blanket over their shoulder and they walked backwards as to not see his shame and his nakedness, and they covered him. you need to make sure that the person you are sharing with has the ability to help you cover and not expose.
Well, Ambassador Lisa, I hear what you're saying, but it's hard to really have that ability to know that that confidant has the ability, because it only takes one situation for them to confide in another person. For example, let's say your confidant is your pastor and he's married. You share this stuff with that pastor and he shares it with his wife during pillow talk. Your pastor may be, you're confident, but his wife is not.
Right.
Or the reverse. I'm just saying, just know that whoever you're calling, I'm not saying that there are absolutely no confidence in the world. That's not what I'm saying.
I understand.
There are people that you can confide in. They will never breathe a word. As a servant of God, there are people that have confided in me in a lot of things, and they will never hear it.
Exactly.
However, just keep in mind that until somebody breaks that trust, you will not know that that person was not truly confident. That's what I'm trying to say. And God is always, his line is always open.
His line is open.
Like me, I take my stuff to God because that's the only person I trust. I'm sorry, that's the only person I trust.
Well, I have a group of sisters that have, 3 of us have been together over almost 50 years. We've been dancing in ministry together since the mid-80s. And the other 2 I've known almost 30. Matter of fact, I'm at my sister's house right now where I'm at for the 4th Sundays when she has family church. And this is my group of confidants.
Good.
If I tell one thing to Esther, and then I hear it back from Asada, I'm not mad because I know she wasn't gossiping. She was like, you know what? This is what Lisa's going through, and you've got more expertise in this area. Talk to her about this. So these are women that I have grown to trust over the years. And when I preach, I'm always telling people it takes at least 20 years to discover the purpose of a relationship. By then, you have gone through the good, the bad, the ups, the downs, and the uglies, and you now know that this is somebody that you can rely on. Now, my pastor is a bit of a gossip. My former pastor was definitely a gossip. And I used to I had to get up in the front of the congregation and I said, stop telling her things because she cannot keep it. She will not keep it because her responsibility as the pastor is to tell it to the intercessor so we can pray. So if you have something that you want her to keep confident, I'm just telling you right now, she's not, because she's going to tell it to us. So I just dismissed and dispelled all that. Oh my God, the intercessors know. Oh my God, someone came to me. I'm letting y'all know that her responsibility is to come and tell it to the intercessors, and we will take it to the throne. So if but
this is the thing, Ambassador Lisa, this is the thing. Between one and God, there's no stop signs. People don't need, you go directly to God. Okay, why can't the pastor, I'm not criticizing your pastor, directly. Why can't that person pray directly to God? Why do they have to go tell intercessors?
Well, you know what?
I have no, hear me, let me learn. Okay. I have no problems with intercessors. I intercede for people all the time. My point is, just like confessing your sin, you can talk directly to God. Because you don't even know the person you are confessing to. You don't know the baggage that they have or the situation that they're standing with God. They may be hindering your prayers. I'm not, believe me, I believe in intercessory prayer. My point is, if you are sharing something in confidence with a clergy person, it should be in confidence. That clergy person should not tell, I don't care if it's a deacon or a pastor or intercessors, to your business, because if you wanted the intercessors to know, you go directly to the intercessor and say, please intercede for me. But if you are sharing it with a clergy person or a pastor, that pastor can pray directly to God. God doesn't need 20 people praying for the same prayer point for him to answer. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, in defense of that, and we're getting off topic and we're going to get back. The scriptures does say, confess your sins and your faults one to another.
Exactly. One to another, but it didn't say when a church member come to you with their problem, you should go tell intercessor. That's not one to another. That's a different, that is not it. We're not getting off because we're talking about process of divorce here. So I think we should go now talk about the
Yeah,
impact
let's get
on.
back. So I want to get back to some statistics.
No, yeah. Before you go to your statistics, parents, I don't think they think through. I think the people that suffer the most in divorces that have children are the children. Because first of all, the children did not ask you guys to get married or bring them into this war. And people don't really think about the impact. Children are traumatized. They are messed up, whether you like it or not. I'll give you an example. This is a true story. Actually, somebody that I've known for a long time. He and his wife divorced, and he wanted custody of the children. And the wife insisted that she will have custody. So this is what he did. He told the judge, he said, you know what? I don't want my kids moving from one house to another every other weekend. The children will stay in this house. And then every other weekend, either me or my ex-wife will come and stay with the children. That way, the children don't move. The children stay in the same address, attend the same school, they're in their same room. And to me, that was the best proposal ever. Because a lot of parents don't think that way. The parents just make a decision that the children have to be moving from one house to the other. Instead of keeping the children in that house, in the house that they grew up in, let the parents be the ones moving. So the judge was like, oh, this is the best idea ever. Guess what? When he made that proposal, the woman decided, okay, you can have the children. But the children are messed up. They are messed up psychologically, emotionally, everything. They are messed up, whether you like it or not, whether you realize it or not. They are messed up. And messed up children take it to their schools, take it to their workplace, take it to the community. So it impacts the two people who are getting divorced, impacts their children, impact the community, impact the schools, it impacts the nation.
It impacts everything, yes.
All right, Ambassador Lisa.
So when we've I'm a product of divorce parents, but I was an adult. I was almost an adult when my parents got divorced. So I wasn't as devastated or traumatized because I saw how the marriage was going. And I was thinking, why these people don't get divorced? Because this is crazy what they're going through. But we were all adults by the time my parents divorced, but they remained friendly. Just because they could not continue to live in the same house or be husband and wife, they remained friendly to one another. Why? Because we still have children together, and I guess I took that model on as well. Like I said, we still have to raise these kids, and my kids come over to your house with your wife. I don't want them being mistreated. I don't want them being abused. So why don't we just get along? That was always my motto. Let's just get along. And I do believe I'm definitely a statistic, because that's not how most divorced people end up raising their families, continuing to be friends. At the funeral of my late husband, all the preacher could do was talk about me. And his wife after me was like, he had to say all of that. I said, I didn't make him say all of that. But we all were able to laugh and joke. We were all able to be there together with our kids. And again, nobody's fighting. Our kids were going to school together. We weren't fighting one another. We weren't mad at each other because we were raising each other's kids. And that was more important to us than our little individual feelings about why we ended up divorced. I left my husband. So I ain't gonna be mad. I ain't trying to get him back. Trust me, you can have him. I just don't want you mistreating my kids. But this is not, statistics on our children being traumatized is not been good, because most people don't understand that this is the mindset that we can have. I'm not saying we should. This is the mindset that we can have. But when we are so hurt and we're so devastated by the fact that our marriage didn't work. Now, most women, I always say this as well, we are very emotional. We go into this with our emotion and we're so in love. Men are visual. They like what they see. They want it all the time. They like something else they see. They want that all the time. So their eyes are constantly roaming. But when you understand, take all the emotion away, take the sight away, and get down to the nitty-gritty, we can discover the purpose of what marriage is for. I asked when I'm doing counseling, I say, you want to marry this young man. Suppose God is calling him to go live in some remote village, because that's the will of God for his life. Are you ready for that? No. My question is, what do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? This is a man of God. My son is a bishop. And his daughter's mother decided after 5 years of dating she did not want to be married to a pastor. And I was glad. I was a little hurt. He definitely hurt. But I was glad because it didn't end in marriage. I'm glad that she realized that being married to a pastor, he's teaching seminary, he's preaching in this city this week, and next weekend he's in this city. I'm
You
glad
have
that
to
she
be
was able to
called. It's a
realize that this
calling.
was not the life that she
Yeah.
wanted to live.
Yeah.
So while we are still friendly, we've had this little girl in our life for 2 years because that's when she adopted him, and we were, going through all the counseling with her. My son is going through all the counseling and just waiting for them to get married to put his name on the adoption papers, and it didn't happen. So he's a little devastated, about this, but we still have this baby. I still have a granddaughter. She's not taking her from us, but I'm just glad that he did not have to follow in the footsteps of his father or his mother, end up as a divorcee.
Can I
So
can I just say something real quick before we go to, oh, there goes Dr. Vivian from Gambia. I know it's late there, but since you brought up church, and I'm glad that lady back out before getting married and divorcing your son because of ministry. There are a lot of divorces in the church that are because of ministry work. Either the man is always either doing deliverance, praying for people, traveling to minister, and neglecting neglecting the needs of his own family.
exactly.
Or the wife is always in church Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday. Either it's Bible study, choir practice, anything. The list just goes on and on. And as I said before, what God has put together, God cannot put asunder. You cannot claim you are serving God when whatever you are doing is causing problems in your marriage and you end up in divorce. That's not God. That's you. So you have to know what God has called you to do first before you are doing all those things, or else it will end up in divorce, and you cannot blame God for that. There are women that spend their time sleeping in the church. It's church this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Some of them don't even have time to cook for their husbands or take care of their husbands and children because they are so busy serving God. And when God is trying to tell them that, hey, look, your husband they are too busy to hear the God that they are trying to serve. So, but if it's okay, Sister Deborah and Dr. Crostin, Dr. Vivian Kumba just joined us from Gambia. It's kind of late there. Can we give her the mic?
Yes.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, you're
Hello, greetings
welcome.
to you all.
Just
I'm sorry to join late. I had a previous meeting. I thought it
Yeah,
would
we
finish
we
at
know
8.
it's
It just finished
Lent
at
and
8:30.
it's Sunday, so we are talking divorce today.
Yes, I saw the topic. I don't know what you have already said, but don't mind the time. I think I better follow well so that I get your trend before
No,
I
go
say
ahead. We're
anything.
talking about divorce and its impact on the children and family. So it doesn't matter if you say something that has been said before. It doesn't matter. Maybe some people need to hear it the second time.
Yes. And we're definitely interested in the divorce situation from the African standpoint on the continent.
Okay, now talking about divorce, I would say that are we trying to look more at the impact or want to look at other things around divorce?
Anything,
Because
anything. Impact
because
mostly, but other things too.
because usually I like to make it a bit compact. I don't know how to put it. But when we're talking about divorce, one of the things that comes to mind is to ask ourselves, and that's the question I ask myself most of the time, is that two people who presented themselves as sometimes madly in love, and if you don't marry us, there'll be a problem. Then the church marries them, and then they turn around and they don't want to live together anymore. So the question is why? Because how is the marriage preparation happening? How do people understand what it actually means to get married? because many times people are getting into marriage without getting the point properly. They are not getting properly educated. And so we look at reasons for divorce and we start trying to classify them into remote reasons, immediate reasons, and causes and things like that. Now, whatever the situation may be, divorce just implies probably the separation of the people. Okay, they don't want to be married anymore. They go separate ways. They actually document their separation legally, just like they documented their marriage legally. But one of the challenges of divorce is that does divorce, is it really supposed to happen in the church? The first question. Because at the point of marriage, yes, how much do they know? The church has done something. I'm Catholic. In the Catholic Church, we do marriage preparation courses and all that, prepare them for marriage. How much of it do they understand? When you're talking pre-marriage course, they don't listen. Their minds are ready for marriage. And so many of them don't even get the point properly. And then, but the church in her teaching makes it clear that marriage is a lifetime commitment. It is difficult, if not impossible, to tell us after you're married that you're going to go separate ways. And that's why the church takes certain precautions, gives the marriage course, announces what we call bans, so that the community and the congregation, everybody knows that so and so person, son of so and so person, is promised in marriage to so and so woman, daughter of so and so people. And so by the time all that is done, it is hoped that the groundwork has been laid for a successful marriage. But this couple themselves in question, they may not be following the trend correctly. They may get a number of notions wrong. They may not even, as I say, be paying attention to what they should be paying attention. They are just focused on marriage, on getting married. And then the time comes shortly after they are now living together. Because part of the teaching is you can't live together, you can't be seen as man and woman until you're married in church. So for the most part, they may not know a number of things about each other. A few of what I have encountered is those who did not understand or did not know what they can expect from each other in terms of intimacy between man and woman. And this comes along after marriage and challenges them. And they don't want to talk about it. And one of the unfortunate situations is that they might not have been sleeping with each other, but they are sleeping with different people. And so when they come together, intimacy becomes a challenge because they are comparing. Oh, I had a boyfriend who was this. I had a girlfriend who was that. So it becomes difficult for the two to do the right bonding for a sustainable marriage. And when that happens, they don't discuss it because you are talking about our context in Africa. One of the problems in Africa is that we don't talk about man and woman relations. Discussing sex is a taboo, almost. Interestingly, no matter how much we are trying to educate to undo that taboo, it remains. Because the typical African person is looking at sex as too private and too intimate to be discussed in public. And so nobody discusses it. In the work I do, I try to do sex education even in schools. You talk to young people and mention sex, and everybody giggles in the room. Why can't she be saying that? Why is she saying that here? Why is she talking about that? Why is she, everybody giggles. You try to tell them what it implies to be in a sexual relationship. They're like, listen, imagine what she is saying. Can she be saying that? So many people shy away from making it an open discussion. And so there's much that is left unknown, if I can put it that way. And so when they now come into the marriage and it is not working well for them in intimacy, that even when they come to the counselor, they will not mention it.
That's true.
Even when they go to the church, to the clergy person, they will not mention it. They will now start looking for all other reasons around their relationship, except the real problem.
So true.
And so when people are really divorced, and you want to look back at it and ask questions, you may just discover that their problem was just that they did not handle their intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes very challenging because, for the most part, all the things they complain about were like, I want to say, superficial, almost
Superficial.
fake things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, almost fake problems, just
Mhm.
to get away from each other. And one of the key reasons is because they have other partners they have had before.
Yeah.
So they were comparing. So they have a feeling I can go back to that partner. But how many times can they go back to that partner? We all know
So
it's difficult.
ties. So ties.
It's difficult to go back to that partner. Okay, but if we are looking further and looking into something like the impact, let me jump to that. The impact will depend on the duration of the marriage in the first place. In my opinion, it would depend on how long were they married, so that did they have children or not? Did they get involved in some kinds of investments or other activities together or not? But earlier, for people who marry, who divorce early in marriage, the only main impact that I have been able to really identify is psychological. People get depressed, they get unhappy, they regret, because, as I said, they will not discuss the real problem they have. They will turn around it, because when intimacy is not going well, there's a chance of a lot of tension in the home, because people are not relaxed. People are not at ease. So they get irritable, and then violence may come in. They behave a little violently towards each other, both ways. It's not only the man who can get violent, a woman can also get very violent. You know, she gets like, yes, she like, I don't even know why I married this man. I had
Right.
another man who was doing better with me. I don't even know why I ended up marrying him. So it gets a bit very difficult for communication and harmony. So it can get violent. And violence in itself is enough grounds for a divorce, because there is no reason. You are in a marriage home, is not a boxing ring. It's not a what do I want to call it? It's not a fighting arena. It is a marriage home. So when those are arising, then parents start understanding that, oh, people are actually exchanging blows. People are getting into fighting, and the parents themselves will step in and say, "You people cannot live together again." Even before you worry about divorcing, parents will divorce them, because I didn't send my daughter there for him to beat her. I didn't think that she would come and be fighting with my son. They start the divorce is so the impact now becomes less of a third party impact. It is they themselves who now start getting depressed and unhappy, sometimes regretting, and future relationships become almost impossible. And when it's like that, not just relationships to be able to get another marriage, but even interacting with colleagues and people in the community, because it's also a little very embarrassing. There's an embarrassment in it, in the sense that in our context in Africa, marrying and divorcing is like a failure. So you feel like you are a failure in the community. The person who is divorced starts feeling inadequate and all that. And so even at job or in other interactions, it becomes very difficult. And so they go down a depression spectrum very easily. And when they're in that, it is very difficult to talk to them. It's very difficult to do anything at all with them. In fact, when I was much younger, I encountered people that it is now I look back and understand why they were behaving the way they were behaving. Because back in my medical school, for example, we had a certain nurse, very good professional person, but we all feared her. She was like a lioness. Each time she's on the ward, you are wondering whether she should go and tell, because we used to call them matron. Should you tell this to matron? Should you talk about this? You're afraid. And then they'll be saying, and some of them actually had their children around the same university. And then they'll be saying, no, my parents divorced when I was young, or that woman, she didn't stay long in marriage, they divorced. But it didn't make much sense to us at the time. But when I look back now, I see that they actually get even very violent as a character. People develop very violent characters or behavior, so that they are difficult to deal with in every sense of the word.
We're at the top of the hour.
Yeah, we're at the top of the hour. And Dr. Kumba, take a sip of water and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Okay,
Dr. Vivian, we certainly appreciate your input and your insights. We will be taking a break. We will be right back after our anthem. We're coming back with our announcements for the week, for the upcoming Sunday, and then we will continue this conversation. Thank you, Dr. Vivian, Sister Deborah, Dr. Gloria. Go grab a drink of water. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, then. Ramata.
Oh, Africa. Oh, no. Africans, Africans for Africa. 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 Africans have many bright ideas. If only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come, sit down, listen to my story. God gave us a wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, as one people, with so many cultures, yet indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us all unite behind AfricaOnline Media Corporation. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. Hey. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does, to identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards. As one people with so many cultures, yes indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Let us solve all the problems plaguing our continent. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us empower Africans in and out of Africa. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. AfricaOnline Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. They have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. will be education for everyone if we believe. Prosperity for Africans if we believe. Medical facilitation for Africans if we believe. Stand up, Africa, yes, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Africa is the cradle of civilization, the motherland. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. We were enslaved not because we were weak, but because of our hospitality. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Jump on the Africa Online Miracle Jet, don't be left behind. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Together we shall succeed, together we will win. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. We are writing our own story, the truth, and we shall tell it to the world. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. No more lies, Africans own Africa.
No more lies. Africans own Africa. Nia Song, what is our topic?
I think, okay, Nelson, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's women's health. So it is the last Sunday of the month, I believe. It is the 30th of March. So it should be women's health.
Yeah, to honor this Women's Month, so we'll be discussing women's health. You know, hopefully our Chief Medical Advisor, Dr. Ogoji, will be on. He is a family practice and OBGYN doctor. So that's what we'll be going to be discussing. In terms of announcements, next month is actually Financial Literacy Month, so we have some people lined up for that. But our sister organization, Africa's Brain Bank, it's oh, Ambassador Lisa, you may want to talk about it. I just put the link on the chat box. Go ahead, Ambassador Lisa.
No, you go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're going to be having our 6th annual summit and charity ball in New York City, New York Labor Day weekend. And among the honorees will be Nia Song, Dr. Ogoji will be there, Dr. Bitazong. Plus we have 8 other honorees, including the Afrobeat King, Mr. Davido Adeleke. We're waiting for confirmation on that. We're going to be honoring him. Some of the recipients, they're making waves across the world. I know one of them may not be able to come for political reasons, but either way, we'll deliver the awards to him. It's going to be a 5-day event, life transforming. So the ticket link is there. Click it. We're going to be talking about brain drain, which is our vision is to end Africa's brain drain. And a few years ago, I changed the definition of brain drain. So you need to come and hear that. I've talked about it on some platforms, on some radio and TV programs. So I'll be talking about it, and I'll actually be delivering the keynote. Even though I'm the event coordinator, I have to deliver this keynote because a lot of the stuff is still in my brains. I've not downloaded it. So I have to deliver that keynote. And we're also going to have the diplomatic corps there from Washington, D.C., and a lot of heavyweights, even our speakers. Some of them are coming from the Wall Street. They come from all walks of life. So I encourage you, Dr. Crosslin, we need your help. Share the link with your networks. I know you have a big network. Share them with your network. We are raising funds for STEM education. 100% of the funds will go to the STEM education. We're not paying any. We don't have any administrative fees or staff that we need to pay. All right, over to you, Nielsen.
Thank you very much. And that being said, as we said, it will be Women's Health next week. Next week. And for today, let's continue with this topic. I see Dr. Kumba stepped away, or is she there but muted? If she's there, please unmute and let's continue. But Dr. Gloria, you have been silent for a long time. Can you chip in something that you still have to say about marriage and divorce?
Sure. Thank you so much. I've been uh, listening mindfully, and one of my burning questions was, what about when it is acceptable for a guy, or I guess maybe nowadays even a lady, being married to multiple people, like if it's their religion or something? I'm thinking,
Or you
you
mean
know,
polygamy and polyandry?
well, that, and even when it's in a tribe, a king has multiple queens or something. I don't know. I've never seen
Okay.
it. I've only heard
Well,
about it.
let me help you here. My
Yes.
father who is a prince of Balinyonga, was the only monogamist in his family. His brothers had multiple wives. My grandfather had 42 wives and 350 children.
I'm
If you
sorry,
are,
say it again. I'm sorry, say it again.
yes, my grandfather had 42 wives and 350 children. Actually, my
Wow.
great grandfather. Yeah, so I keep getting mixed up because my grandfather's younger brothers, they treated my dad as their brother instead of their son. So sometimes I have aunts that are younger than me. So just like my dad had uncles that were younger than him. But yes, so if you are going into a marriage and in Africa or in Cameroon, they ask you to sign for monogamy or polygamy. If you sign for polygamy, you cannot divorce your husband because he brings another wife, because you sign in for that. So yes, but
Mm-hmm.
if so, they do have that question there: are you going for monogamy or polygamy?
Oh, okay.
Yes, and they still practice it, but the younger generation are not doing that nonsense, but they still practice it. So I don't know, Dr. Crosida answers your question, but if you are getting into a marriage and you are signing up for polygamy, the man has to. I mean, you cannot divorce the man because he married another wife. You agree to it. I haven't seen, there was a lady, I don't know if it's Kenya or Uganda, in East Africa, that has, I think, 3 husbands. And they are all happy and pleased. I don't know, that one is called polyandry, but that is not common. But they are all happy. So I don't know what it is that she's doing, and I don't want to know. But so Dr. Crosby, I saw is laughing. Dr. Crosby, does that answer your question?
Um, a- Absolutely. And you know, some women, it just doesn't bother them,
Uh,
you know, even here in the United States. Yeah, I can't explain it. It's a phenomenon. Some men, it doesn't bother them. Some couples even invite other couples,
yeah,
and
disgusting. Yeah.
That's just open marriage. That has nothing to do with
I don't
marriage
even
and
know
divorce.
why
That
did they
just
call it marriage if it's open. I mean, it's not even a marriage. But I think Dr. Crossin, because I think the Mormons, they have sister wives, where they call
yeah,
them
the
co-wives
Mormons.
or sister wives or whatever.
they made a TV show. Yeah, I didn't watch it, but yeah, on on some islands there's just a lot of nudity going on too.
Why they will not be divorcing because they've signed up for that.
Well,
So
some people have open minds, I guess. And not really getting off the topic. I know it's on divorce, but yeah, people think of all different kind of things and sign all different kind of agreements. Um, as a marriage counselor, I don't know, but I do know a psychologist girlfriend of mine who doesn't share with me about what she hears, but she said that some some of the things that she hears and sees from the younger generation is astounding. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
where do they get this from?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's any indication of the future of marriage, it'll still need to be redefined again. We
well,
did.
yeah, let me just say this. This organization and this program, our definition of marriage is between a man and a woman. That's just a disclaimer. That's where we stand. And when we are talking about divorce, we are referring to divorce from a man and a woman, between a man and a woman, not a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, or a man and an animal, or a man and a robot. No, it's man and woman. God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and not Eve and Eva. So that's where we are. Just want to make that point.
You
Yes.
know, in Isaiah 40, Isaiah 4, verse 1, it says that there will be 7 women who will seek to marry one man. Because I assume that there are more women than there are men, there are not enough men to marry. I know in China, when I want to say maybe, I guess it's about 60 years now, when they came up with the rule with the one child per family, they were not looking into the future, and they weren't seeing that that one child now is going to be responsible for taking care of maybe 4 parents. Should that son get married to a woman, he's got his parents and now her parents. And if the couples had one child and that child was a girl, they were either killing them, secretly sending them off to the village. But here we are 50 years later, and they're discovering they don't have enough women to marry the men. So they cannot continue their families because there were not enough enough women for them to marry. So the scripture goes on to say that the women were offering to provide their food and clothing in exchange for his name, to remove their reproach, their reproach of widowhood, or their reproach of never been married before. Because, back in the biblical times, if you weren't a wife, the only other job you could do was a prostitute. So that is one of the reasons they were seeking to marry more than, they were seeking to be what the Mormons are doing now in the sister wives, marrying more than one woman, or marrying the sisters in the family. So, but as we've come so far along from that particular time, we've got more kids, we've got more women, we've got more girls. But why are we still seeking to be married to the same man, or, more than one woman with one man, or one man with more than one woman?
Okay, Prophetess Lisa, if I may address that, I do have a little expertise, or well, I have a little bit of thought on that. So what you've just done is you started out at Adam and Eve, and now you've brought us all up to Revelation. And I think it was Holy Spirit who said that in the last days, men would be lovers of themselves, and that they would not seek to marry humans, but and not even mess with the children. But I think he said something about angels. So, and I think that was Sodom and Gomorrah. But God does give people over to a reprobated mind. And, if they turn their backs on what God defines as holy. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you, and then she disappeared.
Yeah, that's right. So suddenly.
Yeah, but it does say that in the last days, we will be living in grievous times. There were times come when men would be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, and boastful and arrogant and disobedient to parents, and unthankful, unholy, all the things that we're seeing coming up in these next generations. We're seeing all those things without self-control, and not lovers of good. They love evil. But back to the topic of divorce. And I believe Dr. Crossan's question was, why is there polygamy? Why was that the norm, especially in Africa? Why was that the norm? Reverend Pam said her grandfather had 42 wives. I'm assuming he was a chief, because I don't believe that is the norm for every individual. I think you had to be part of royalty to be able to have those, accommodate all those wives. Reverend Pam or Nia-san?
It looks like she stepped away, but I think that is what it was. I think the father was a chief. So the chief had many wives. In most tribes, back in the day, most chiefs had more than one wife, more than 5 wives, and they all understood their places in the palace, and they all knew
Okay, I'm back.
When and how. So it was something really that existed and was accepted by the community. So, Reverend Pam, the
Yeah,
question
I'm back.
was
Yeah,
your
Ambassador
dad, was your
Lisa.
dad a chief, or why did
Of
he?
course, yeah, he was king. That was His Royal Majesty Fuyonga II, you know.
That's what I
So
was saying.
yeah, and lived in the palace. So each of the wives had their own houses in the palace, you know. So actually, growing up, I thought he had 250 kids. It was when he died that I heard it from the news that he actually had 350 kids.
Wow.
You know, so yes, I didn't know there were that many.
But that was what was going on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to have my camera closed. But that was the sign of the time. That what was going on during those times. Now we're coming up to the 21st century, and we've got lots of women and we've got lots of men. So we can find a mate. But as I just finished reading in that scripture, that men would be lovers of themselves and not care about one another. They just want what they want. They're lovers of money. So a lot of people are opting not to marry nowadays because they're not finding that perfect mate, or they're not finding that mate who is willing to pour into them as much as they are pouring in to one another. The women are pouring.
I want to weigh in on something, Ambassador Lisa, that you and Dr. Clausen said. I know we don't discuss politics or religion here, but I want to weigh in on this thing. I don't believe that, because I know what the census, I mean, the human census may say there were a little bit more women than men, but when God created Adam and he said it was not good for man to be alone, and he put him to sleep, took a rib and made Eve, he made a woman for each man that he created. I don't believe that he did not give enough women and enough men on this planet. Granted, there have been wars, man-made problems that have killed. During wars, men, even when there's war, men are the ones that go to war. A lot of them died. In the African American community, most of the men are in jail by design. So the women cannot find men to get married to. But I strongly believe that there is a woman for every man that God created. What mankind has done with that shift, I mean, with that balance, is another story. But I just wanted to weigh in. I know we're coming down to the final word, but I just wanted to mention that God cannot contradict God, you know, and all scriptures given by inspiration from Him. That's 2 Timothy 3:16. So, but when God does stuff, and then human beings do things to shift the balance, He gives us choice. We make choices, just like the men, and I think a lot of the men marrying multiple wives was a show of wealth or power, because they treated women like acquisition or part of their wealth, you know, or property. So the more, but then you have a guy in Nigeria, a senator that is married, I think, to 6 or 7 wives, you know, and apparently he marries only virgins. So I don't understand. So you guys have to make a roster, or this week is with this one. I don't get all that. And to me, you know, I mean, polygamy is not my thing. Sharing a man is not my thing. I don't want to even know how they do it, because I'm not going to ever deal with that. It doesn't make any sense to me. To me, it's one wife, one man, one woman. You know, just, and let nobody try and bring Solomon into the story, because Solomon, his time is past. But I'll hand back over to you guys. We have 6 minutes.
Well, back in the day, one of the reasons why men in Africa got married to more than one wife was for agricultural purposes. So the woman could be farm hands and help him work his farms. But that being said, yes, that being said, hold your thoughts for your last words. So
on divorce.
Yeah, divorce.
And the impact.
That's right. We'll start from the continent. Dr. Kumba, is she still there? I saw her, and she needs to unmute so that we can call her. Well, not her. Just hold your thought. Yeah, just hold your thought. We'll start with Dr. Crossan, actually.
Okay. Her Highness, Her Excellency, Reverend Dr. Pam is absolutely a beautiful person. I love this platform and everything that it stands for.
Thank you.
Right, because yeah, when my mom was alive, my mom would say somebody ought to want to do right, and so it's always good to know that someone wants to do right, and this is how it should be, no matter what people change it to be, marriage is defined by God as between one man and one woman. I just wanted to make that perfectly
Good.
clear.
Mm-hmm.
And what God is talking about is the church and us being the bride. Oh, so that's what he's talking about. But I just want to say also that he is coming back, and he is coming back very, very soon, a lot sooner than we think. And we don't want to divorce God. We want to have a closer walk with him in
Mm-hmm.
everything that we do within ourselves so that we can reach out to other people with grace and love. Thank you so much.
That's
Thank you
right.
so much. After Dr. Deborah, Dr. Crossley, we'll go to Sister Deborah. Your last words, please. Your last thoughts on this discussion.
I'm actually going back to the beginning, sort of kind of, when you were talking about red flags.
Mm-hmm.
There are red flags in the marriage, but they start way before the marriage. It starts in the dating process.
That's right.
And what we tend to do is we tend to say, oh, I can deal with that. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the red flag in the beginning, you need to address it so that it doesn't become a bigger red flag.
That's true. Touchdown.
That's right. Thank you so very much. Co-host Ambassador Lisa, please, your last thoughts on the topic.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Nia Sang. So, as I was saying earlier, 69% of all divorces in the US are initiated by women versus 31% by men. And the average duration of marriage that ends in divorce is usually 13 years. And the average age for people who are getting divorced is about 41 years old. Lack of commitment and a constant lack of commitment actually is 73%. Constant arguing, 55%, are among the top reasons for divorce. And in these statistics, they didn't even mention communication or finance. So we
Finances.
need to really begin to look at, before we step into our marriages, before you get all excited about that wedding, look at all these statistics and see if you're finding yourself in any of these areas before you get to marriage and then end up in divorce. Because you can look and say, oh, wow, is there constant arguing is the top reason? Are we constantly arguing? How do we resolve these things? Because there is a way that seems right. But in the end, God knows. And we can go to him and trust him with our issues. We can go to him and ask him to reveal and make us ready for one another. Thank you so much again. This is Africa Online. You can find us here every Sunday from 4 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. And if you don't know what time that is on your neck of the woods or in your continent or where you are, use timezoneconverter.com to find out what time we are on in your area. Go to our Facebook page, go to our YouTube page, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Your turn.
Well said, Madam Ambassador.
Ambassador, Reverend, Your Highness, Reverend Palm, your last word.
Thank you so much, and Ambassador Lisa. Thank you for reminding our viewers to subscribe to our channel, to like us, follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Everybody here should do that, and share with their networks. Like I said, we have a lot of content. Divorce and its impact. Divorce impacts everybody, including the society and the nation and the world. People that are going through divorce, they're not the best people. They transfer the aggression to co-workers, to strangers, to family members, and just even productivity at their job drops. So we are praying that those who are considering divorce, they should look for a common ground and reconcile, because the divorce is not either. I think my whole life I've met only one person, no, two people that said they were happily divorced. One, my law professor at the University of Pharmacy School, introduced himself the first day. I am Dr. John, blah, blah, blah. I won't say his last name. And I am happily divorced. And I just burst out laughing because I never heard anybody say that. And then another young lady who also introduced herself as happily divorced. So, but you don't hear people saying happily divorced. They always say I'm happily married or something. So there's really nothing like happily divorced. The Bible tells you the only time it allows it is in cases of infidelity, but there's room for reconciliation. I would say if your life is at stake, run. I'm not saying file for divorce, run until that other person gets help or there's some kind of solution. But we pray for those who have gone through divorces, because it doesn't matter if one person pretends to be happy. There are people who post things on social media trying to impress the world when they are dying inside. Don't fall for that fake life. Don't fall for that nonsense. They are not happy because at one point they liked the other person. They may not have loved the other person, but they liked the other person, and it's a loss. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kumba. I know you are virtually sleepy, very, very ready to go to bed now.
Oh, no, she's a strong woman.
I hope we have
woman.
made your evening good so that you go to bed and sleep with a peaceful mind. So your last word on divorce and its impact on the community.
Yes, it's very good to hear the previous speakers, especially talking about red flags and looking at statistics and trying to understand what this is all about. I would say that the impact of divorce, like Reverend Pam has also said, is difficult to limit it to a particular person, a particular group of people. The impact is too diverse. And because we are talking as Christians, my statement will be that the impact of divorce is not good for God's plan for man. And so it would be better if we could prevent divorce by preparing better for marriages, by seeking help during marriage and trying to resolve problems, not rush into divorce. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so very much. And on that note, any other person has a note? Did I forget somebody? No. On that note, we're going to call it off for today. But please be back next Sunday. We'll be talking women's health. We're not specific about a topic, but women's health. Why are women particularly prone to certain diseases and so on and so forth? So please take care, enjoy the week, and we're getting towards the end of March already.